All right, here's our next example. So remember, our very first step should be to factor. So I see that I have x plus 2 times x minus 2 in the numerator, and x plus 3 times x minus 3 in the denominator. Okay, so our domain is that x is not equal to 3 or negative 3. Okay, set that you say the denominator cannot be equal to 0. So now, can we simplify? No, there's nothing that simplifies. That means there are no wholes as well, which is nice because it's easy to forget about the wholes since that's often the very last thing that we do. So now vertical asymptotes. Vertical asymptotes will happen where our denominator is equal to 0. So we have the equations x equals 3 and negative 3. Remember, these are lines, so we write x equals 3. Now zeros, I set the numerator equal to 0. Equal to 0. And so I find x equals plus or minus 2. So those are the x values, but the y values are 0. So I have 2, 0, and negative 2, 0. That's where the zeros are. For the y-intercept, I set x equal to 0. So I would have f of 0 equals, and I like to go back to the very beginning, because if I just set these equal to 0, I'm left with negative 4 over negative 9, which is positive 4 ninths. So when x equals 0, y is 4 over 9. Okay. Finally, the horizontal asymptote. So I check the degree of the numerator and denominator, and both of them are 2. So because the degrees are the same, I divide the leading coefficients, which are 1, and so I have the equation y equals 1. So now we start graphing. And again, I like to start with the asymptotes. So my vertical asymptotes are at 3 and at negative 3. So lucky us, we have one of the hard ones with 2 asymptotes, 2 vertical asymptotes. Our horizontal asymptote is at y equals 1. Okay. And so now I plot the zeros. I have zeros at 2, 0, and negative 2, 0. Okay, this is nice. This gives me an idea of what the graph looks like. The y-intercept is at 0, 4 ninths, so about 1/2. Okay, so can you identify the shape already? Remember how we use asymptotes as our guides. So we can cross the horizontal asymptote, but the horizontal asymptote really gives us our end behavior. It tells us about the end behavior. It doesn't tell us so much about the middle, what's happening in the middle. But those vertical asymptotes really help me out. So I know that it's going to come something like this because these values are getting larger. Okay? And then as I move from 0 to 2, x equals 0 to 2, I know I've got to be coming down here. And so actually I have something, it looks more parabolesque, kind of like a parabola. Now, for the rest of it, I'm going to guess that the graph is up here and up here. This is my guess, okay? Because remember what I said, as I jump across the asymptote, so if I jump over here, because to the left of the asymptote, the arrow is going down. To the right, I expect to go up, okay? And then to the right of the asymptote x equals negative 3, it's going down, so I expect it to do the opposite when I hop over the asymptote. So let's back up a little bit. Let's see if we're right. Let's plug in some points. So if I remember that factored form, I had f of x equals x plus 2 times x minus 2 over x plus 3 times x minus 3. Okay, so basically, if I have one point up here, everything in that section will be up above the asymptote. Okay, if I have one positive number over here, then everything's going to be up above the horizontal asymptote. So I'm going to pick a value like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's pick 7. Let's see if that's positive or, is that what I want? No, let's pick one closer. Let's go ahead and pick 4. Let's pick 4. So if I plug in 4, remember, I'm not so much concerned about the actual value, so much as, I'm going to change my mind again. I'm going to go back to 7. Okay, let's plug in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so if I plug in 7, I'm going to have 9 times -5, which is, and then in the bottom I have 10 times 4. Okay, so I have -45 over -40. Let's change that. That should be positive. My bad. Positive 45 over positive 40, which that value is 9 over 8, which is greater than 1. Okay, and so because that value is greater than 1, I know that all of these values here are going to be above the asymptote. Okay, now let's pick a value over here. Let's plug in -4. Okay, if I plug in -4, what happens? Okay, we'll erase this. So if I plug in -4, -4 plus 2 is -2, -6, -1, -7. So I have 12 over 7. Again, this is positive, it's not negative. And so 12 over 7 is greater than 1. I know I have values that look sort of like this. Okay, so once again, the most important things are that you get the asymptotes correct, vertical, horizontal. You get your zeros, your y-intercepts, any holes, get all of those correct. And then I'm just looking for the basic shape. If it's not exactly perfect, you might miss a small amount of points, but you're not going to lose a lot.